towns, I have been doing a little research and with other towns that service neighbor communities and have interlocal contracts, and what I'm finding is it's preliminary, that the difference that we have with these other towns is mainly in staffing and the disbursement of the responsibilities for those staff members. I had an opportunity to speak with Burnett's Township, only very cursorily, and I want to do it more in depth, but I'm finding that some of the responsibilities are shared by the principal members of the staff, and some of the other staff members not there. I understand that they don't even have nurses at Bernardsville.
They contract out for
They contract out to the visiting nurse
association
team, and that's how they do that. And as a result, if you do have that diminishment in staff, well, then your contracts are going to cost a lot less too, because labor is a major portion of the contract. There's a lot we have to do, and we're not stopping. We're going to really investigate and make it more efficient in the future. I think we can. I think we can. We have to delegate the responsibilities a little differently.
Just two other observations. In terms of the staff, the proposal for a staff reduction, one would be whether we have some contractual obligation in terms of level of service that the towns we've contracted with are relying upon, that we're going to deliver, that we need that person. And then the third would be, without identifying the person, it's minority individual. We only, right now, our current workforce, we have 200 full and part-time employees. We have 5 minority employees out of our entire workforce. So we would be eliminating 20% of an area that we're trying to do a better job. So that's just something to, as an issue I'd just like to raise.
That's the disbursement of responsibilities I'm talking about. I think it can be done very easily.
No, Ray, if I could just respond to both your points. They're both valid points. The board, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lou, but the board has observed that the health department was able to service almost double the number of interlocal contracts 3-4 years ago with the same level of personnel that it has now.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the view of the board, at least presently, that there's more than sufficient personnel to service the current level of interlocal contracts. You make a very good point about the status of a potential personnel post to be eliminated. Unfortunately, we're facing some of the same issues other departments are with tenure, in our case tenure, not union, but tenure. Mm-hmm. So that if you were to make other moves, they'd be much more difficult, if not impossible, and certainly couldn't be made this year.
No. But we are moving forward in that direction. And as I said, we're aiming to make it more efficient in the future.
Okay. Anyone else? So between now and the time that we have our final presentation, final proposal of the budget, the board will meet and make their decision and come back with a final version of their budget for us.
Hey, Robert, could you
correct?
just let Lou and John know what that date is?
Well, it's really
I mean, a drop-dead date so that they can prepare something.
in 2 weeks, March 5th, we're going to discuss capital, then 2 weeks later, March 19th. However, we still don't have 2 large pieces of information from the state, the pensions and state aid. So we're...
If we're looking at our schedule, on the back of our binder, it says that April 13th is the date that we're scheduled to introduce the budget. So that might not be the real date.
It is the recommendation of Mr. Cody and myself that we do not proceed with introducing any budget until we know state aid and pension with 100% assurance.
Okay.
I think, Jeannie, if you remember last year, we introduced the budget, and after we introduced, the state reduced our aid by $177,000,
Yeah.
and we didn't have the ability
That's
to
right.
react to it. So we'd like to have the real figure before we introduce. And also know that we want to fully fund our pension obligation. We want to be sure we're going to be able to do that under state law, which is our intention.
Thank you. So would it be reasonable to say that since the Board of Health only meet once a month, that they will come back with something before April?
I'll defer to Lou, but I think we could certainly meet
What was
that.
that question?
Would it be reasonable for the board to come back with your final proposed budget before April?
Yes?
I don't see why not. That's up to the board.
I can't see why not.
Thank you.
All right?
If there are no more discussions, we will move on to 165, engineering.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I have engineering.
Sit at the table, make yourself comfortable.
Oh, yes, I do too. In the beginning. Thank you.
Ms.
There is an
Vogel.
electrical buzzer on that seat yet.
Oh, okay, now that we have that under control.
Get ready, Mr. Piano.
Just thought if we started at the house, that it would be the next one. How stupid of them to put it in this order. This doesn't go right. Hi, Bob, how are you?
Don't ask.
It is for us, isn't it?
Bob?
Should I do it? Should I get started? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number one, account number 165 is the engineering budget for the borough of Madison. If you all got a chance to look over what was sent out over the prior weekend, it was a quick summary of what land use services did as a whole for last year. It's helpful to know that we had a fairly productive year, and the department as a whole did accomplish a great deal. During these times, it doesn't help a lot because obviously with the private sector and the economy as a whole looking so badly. I suppose from my perspective, it helps to know that you have a good staff here. They had a productive year. There was a fair degree of non-tax revenue raised, slightly less than prior years. And when I say non-tax, I mean it's developer fee oriented. And so the construction department, over 90%. Planning and zoning, almost $100,000 worth of developer-oriented revenue or escrow. The zoning, obviously, to a lesser extent. And pure engineering work obviously relates to the capital projects at hand. And many times we equate our value there on that half of the equation to what it would cost to outsource similar design, construction, and inspection work. And I think if you look at the dollar amount of work that was accomplished this past fall, we certainly had some value in that area, and very favorable with regards to what it would cost to outsource that work. So, with that being said, engineering budget starts with a $270,000 total expenditure from last year. $312,000 was the department proposal, and we have similar recommendations. If you'd like, I can go through line by line, or else respond to questions as we go along.